IVM.
Alright, hello guys. Welcome back to another episode of IVM Likes. Joining me today on this episode are of course Amit Doshi. Hey Amit.
Hey, how's it going, dude?
All great. And the habit coach himself, Ashdin Doctor.
Yay!
Ashdin, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, this is great, man. This is going to be an excellent episode.
Have you done an episode of this before, IVM Likes before, Ashdin?
No, I don't think I've been on IVM Likes before.
Ah, okay, alright. So this will be fun. This is always a fun show.
I think this is our first podcast together, huh, Amit?
Is it really?
Yeah, like in 2 years, our first podcast. That's crazy.
Oh, wow. That's kind of insane. Yeah. I mean, like, considering the number of episodes both of us do, that is kind of insane.
Oh, that is fascinating. I did not realize this was the first time that you guys were meeting on a podcast together. This is very cool. For those who don't know, and Ashdin, maybe he's not aware of how this podcast works. Basically, how it works is the first half of the episode, we talk about something, we recommend something. All three of us will be recommending something within pop culture. It can be a movie or a TV show, anything that we've checked out recently. The item itself does not have to be recent, but we have to have checked it out recently. And in the second half, we'll be talking about a topic which is more pop culturally relevant. On this episode, we'll be talking about inspirational movies because we have Ashdin on, who is the habit coach. We thought, what better topic to discuss with Ashdin Doctor than inspirational and motivational feel-good movies. So wait for that in the second half.
Super.
So starting off the first half with the recommendation round. Ashdin, would you like to start us off with?
Sure. So, a show that I saw recently was Bad Boy Billionaires on Netflix. Oh my god, it was a crazy show. Like, I don't normally binge watch at all. Like, I'm very, very measured in my watching. But that show, I just saw all 3 episodes one after another, and one day it was done. And it was crazy because, it just highlighted a human interaction. Like, like where does greed start? Where does ambition end? It was such an interesting approach to it.
So who are the billionaires? We've all heard about the Vijay Mallya as one of them, right? Who are the other two?
Nirav Modi
also?
Yeah, Nirav Modi and Subrata Roy.
Ah, okay, all right.
Sahara Shri.
Yeah,
but this is only an Indian-centric show, is it?
Yeah, that's the thing about it, right? Because it's so well produced, one, and it's all about people that we've seen in the news because, they're all Indian bad boy billionaires in that sense. So it was very hard-hitting and close to home. And it was so interesting that many aspects of their life was actually very inspirational. And then you had this complete cheating aspect as well that was part of it.
So that's interesting. This has always been that there's a difference. I've always felt this, and maybe you can since you've seen the documentary, can maybe talk a little bit about this, right? I've always felt there was a difference between Vijay Mallya and Nirav Modi.
Yeah.
Right? In the sense that Nirav Modi was out and out committing fraud, right? He was going to banks and getting false papers made and there's no getting around the fact that is just straight up fraud, right?
Correct.
And I always thought that the difference between Vijay Mallya was that, flamboyant lifestyle and all that aside, right? But it was more of a business gone bad than a fraud being committed on people who he was working with. Do you think that is a accurate reflection based on what you saw in the documentary, or am I completely wrong in my perception?
No, very accurate. And the thing with Vijay Mallya was you could see a dream suddenly start fading away through the documentary. And that was the beauty of it. He had a dream about changing the way Indians air traveled or changing the way people thought about India. And then it turned from that to getting onto a bigger horse, a bigger horse, a bigger horse, till he couldn't ride it anymore. And you could see that crumbling in front of his eyes. And then it was a perfect storm because he made a couple of bad decisions, which got him more stressed. It made more bad decisions. Correct? And then it was that downward spiral that just started for him, unfortunately.
Right. No, that's good to hear that at least I've not been spouting bullshit for the last few years. No, because I've always really felt that, right? That the criminalization of the business class is something that's bothered me.
Yes.
But at the same time, businessmen who are criminals should be punished as much as possible.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. But although I always had this question that once these guys are caught and they have escaped, say, the country, why do they still give news interviews? Because you're going to be looking bad after that. There's no saving you. Why would you?
There are two kinds of people. There's the people who've committed the fraud and know about it. Like Nirav Modi went into hiding. Correct.
Exactly. Yeah.
Vijay Mallya keeps saying that he didn't do anything wrong. So he is trying to still, come out of that, clear his name. So there's a very different approach to these two. And what I loved about it was everybody, where did they run after this? London. All of them are found in London. That was the funniest part.
You gotta go somewhere.
Well, that's the dream now. I want to make it to London someday. That means I have to defraud some people, become a billionaire, and then run off to London.
Bankruptcy
And
or
that's when I settle
London.
there. Yeah, bankruptcy or London. That's exactly it. Like, awesome. That's Bad Boy Billionaires on Netflix. Please check that out. I'm definitely going to check that out. Amit, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm going to recommend a podcast, a non-IVM podcast, international podcast from one of. So I've always been kind of a fan of this actor, Rob Lowe.
Rob Lowe.
Yeah, so Rob Lowe. I mean, like, I grew up at a time when he was super popular, super famous, right? I mean, like, he was in The Outsiders, which was a huge movie by Francis Ford Coppola, which had pretty much all of, like, the 80s and 90s actors who got popular were all in that. But besides that, I mean, like St. Elmo's Fire was a big deal. There are a bunch of movies like that.
And you're also a huge Parks and Rec fan.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even before that, The West Wing, right? I mean, like, when he moved to television in '99. So one of the things that I heard on this on his podcast just yesterday, which is what kind of made me think that this might be worth recommending. He's been on television every year since 1999. He has not taken a break for the last 20 years. He's been on TV every year.
Wow.
Which is kind of insane, right? I mean, like that's like kind of nuts in that sense. But his podcast is really interesting because this is one of the most popular guys in Hollywood in the 1980s, which was a decade of debauchery in Hollywood, if you will, right? He got sober in 1990, and since then he's been working nonstop as a very popular actor. He's connected, right? I mean, like, he knows everybody, right? So I'm just going to read out his guest list, right, that he's had so far.
Yes.
So it's not a very old the podcast just started a few months ago. Chris Pratt, Magic Johnson, Conan O'Brien, Keegan-Michael Key, Gwyneth Paltrow, Mike Myers, David Spade, Demi Moore, Dana Carvey, Nick Offerman, Caitlyn Jenner, Nikki Glaser, Alec Baldwin, Michael Strahan, Martin Short, and Tiffany Haddish. These are the guests he's had. And the stories he's pulling out of them, right, are like stories you've never heard before. He's talking to Magic Johnson, like, about like all the stuff that they did in the 80s when they were both like, the two most popular people in Hollywood. He's talking to Nick Offerman about like, their time on Parks and Recreation. He's talking to Alec Baldwin about the time that he was visiting his to-be wife on the set of Glengarry Glen Ross. I mean, like, these are stories which, I mean, like, you're not getting these anywhere else, right? It's kind of really unique in that sense. I mean, like, talking to Demi Moore, him and Demi Moore were in like two iconic 80s movies together, right? St. Elmo's Fire and Absolutely Perfect. I mean, like, they were both in that, and again, what an interesting conversation to have, because you're not who else can have these conversations if you think about it, right? It was it's one of the most interesting things. I wish that we would see a Hindi actor of some nature, an Indian actor of some nature have these, but then nobody's going to be open talking to them about this kind of stuff, right? I mean, like, to the degree that a lot of the actors are over here. So highly recommended. It's called Literally. Obviously, the reference is to Parks and Recreation's character, but it's called Literally with Rob Lowe. And it's been, I've listened to, I think, out of the 12, 13 episodes, I've heard about 8 or 9 of them so far. And it's really fun.
So this has become kind of a norm during this. Did this podcast start during this lockdown, by the way?
It did.
During the quarantine?
Yeah.
So this has become kind of a norm where actors from TV shows from discontinued TV shows or like TV shows which have ended have started their own podcasts with taking and the title, like the name of the podcast, will be inspired from that TV show.
So there's something from The Office as well, right? The Office Ladies or something.
Yeah, The Office Ladies, correct. Yeah. That's one. Then there is from the Community also called the worst time. You know what? There's a timeline thing. Finding
can I just say that in my opinion, and I know that people might not like this, but in my opinion, Community is the single most overrated comedy thing in the last 20 years.
Oh man, don't say that. I think that the first 3 seasons of Community are some of the best television. And then after that, because some of the original cast leaves, 4th, 5th, and 6th season onwards, then becomes a little bit, So
I enjoyed it. I watched it. I enjoyed it. You're right. I watched about 2-3 seasons of it. I watched it. I enjoyed it. But this cultish following for the Community, it doesn't deserve it. It's a fun, nice little show, but I don't think that it's that great. And I know that people are not going to be happy about that.
So when do you think something becomes a cult following?
That's fair.
It's an interesting question, right? But I think that when it gets to the point where people will watch the seasons over and over again on some online kind of system, right? I
Yeah.
mean, like, so you know what? There's a really interesting. There's a really interesting kind of thought experiment about Friends, right? The reason why Friends became as popular as it has, or why it's persisted so much in the popular imagination, is because its rise coincided with the rise of DVDs.
Oh.
Right? And so now what happens is that watching on television is fine. But watching on television, you're going to watch one episode a day. But the idea of the ability to binge Friends for episodes at a time, that happened because people had the ability to watch that stuff on DVDs.
Oh, fascinating.
And I think that Netflix and those kinds of systems have only exacerbated that in the case of shows like The Office, Parks and Recreation, which have also become these cultish kind of things, right?
Yep.
The community community I don't think is even available anywhere. Is it online in India?
It is. I'm forgetting where, but it is definitely available either on Prime Video or on Netflix.
All right, okay.
And the podcast is called The Darkest Timeline. Rishikesh, our producer, just reminded us in chat.
Nice.
The Darkest Timeline, and it's from one of the finest episodes of Community. Check out that episode if you're interested. So that's Amit's recommendation, which was the Literally by Rob Lowe with Rob Lowe. And you can find it anywhere you get podcasts, obviously. My recommendation, I would recommend a docu-series which just started. It just finished its first episode last week. It's called The Comedy Store, which basically talks about, so the Comedy Store is like the mecca of comedy. It's like where stand-up started, where it is the home of some of the greatest stand-up comedians in history. Like this is the home club for people like George Carlin, like Richard Pryor, like Freddy Prince, some of the finest comedians who have ever lived. Chappelle, when he moved to LA, his home base was Comedy Store, but now he's in Ohio. Chris Rock, Jerry Seinfeld, all these guys, Comedy Store is the place to be. And so it started back, the Comedy Store started back in 1972 with a person called, with two people, Sammy Shore and his wife, Mitzi Shore. Okay, and Mitzi Shore was the person who was actually handling all the day-to-day functioning of the Comedy Store. And this was the first place where you could go and watch a purely comedy show. Because everywhere else before that, you could only watch variety shows where there'll be musical acts, and there'll be like ventriloquists, and then there'll be a comedian in the middle, and then you'll go back to, it's a variety show basically. But this changed the game altogether, where people understood, oh, you can have comedian after comedian after comedian after comedian, and people will pay to watch that. So that's awesome. So Mitzi Shore started, basically she was handling the day-to-day operations of the Comedy Store. And what she did was she was like she loved stand-up. She loved comedy. She loved comedians, and comedians loved her. So she, when she and Sammy Shore, her husband, were getting divorced, in the separation agreement in the divorce, she was like, okay, I don't want anything else from you. Just give me the Comedy Store. Take everything else. Sammy Shore was like, yeah, okay, fine, whatever you want, dude. The ridiculous, I don't care. This building is probably not going anywhere. This is like a tiny thing right now in like 70s. And then she takes it over, and it becomes like literally the next mecca of comedy. Because around the same time, what happened was the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson back in the day in the 70s, the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson shifted from New York to LA, which made all the comedians shift from New York and other cities to LA. And then they found like the Comedy Store as the place where to operate from. And so this talks about the entire history of the Comedy Store back from the 70s till present day. It'll go on till, it's a 5-part comedy docu-series, and one episode has been out yet. The second episode should actually be out on the 10th of September. So by the time you guys are watching this, it'll already have been out. So yeah, check it out. Made by a comedian who's no longer doing comedy himself. He makes movies and stuff, but he was doing comedy. He was doing stand-up back in the 70s and 80s, and his name is Mike Binder. He's well known in comedy circles there, but even I hadn't heard of him before this documentary. So, but highly, highly entertaining. If you're interested in the history of stand-up, please check this out. Yeah.
Does it talk about some of the controversial aspects of the Comedy Store?
For sure, I'm sure it'll get to way more of them as well. But right now it talks about starts off because the starting is Freddy Prince. Freddy Prince was the first comedian to get a spot on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson and murdered. And literally then Johnny Carson was called the kingmaker of stand-up. Basically, if you went on his show and he liked your set, he would call you onto the couch, and then your career was set. Like the next day, you would have like multi-million-dollar deals. You would have a TV show. You would have multiple movie deals if possible. So crazy. So Freddy Prince is the first comedian to do that. Apparently, as the story goes, you can actually look this up online as well. There's a video available where Freddy Prince does his set, hilarious set, kills. Johnny Carson like, hey, Freddy Prince, by the way, was 19 years old when he did that set. Okay, so Johnny Carson is like, yeah, hey, Freddy, come on over. So he calls Freddy Prince over to the couch. Freddy comes sit, and they do one entire segment they do with Freddy, and they say, hey, we'll be back in the second segment, and they come back, and Freddy's still there. That means they bumped their first guest for Freddy, okay, who's already there. They bumped their first guest. The second segment ends. They're like, hey, we'll be right back. Come back, Freddy is still there. So they bumped their second guest as well. The entire episode just became like a Freddy Prince special. And next day, Freddy Prince was the funniest person known in America. And this is again like very like 70s or something. This is just amazing to see. So just check this out. You guys will really like this. But if you're talking about like the bad side of the Comedy Store, they will talk about everything, I'm sure. Yeah. The Comedy Store has like in one of the signs outside, there's like a signs outside the Comedy Store, there's like there's like a bullet shot. So I'm sure they talk about that as well. They talk about all the depression.
So there was that. So there was also. So Jerry Seinfeld was not a fan of the Comedy Store, right? At all.
Yeah.
He felt So he felt that Mitzi Shore was problematic with him, and Joe Rogan got banned from the Comedy Store, right?
Yeah, this is from Carlos Mencia. They talk about that. They talk about that.
They do talk about that, right? Yeah. So I mean, like, so there have been issues there, right? Also, a little interesting side note, right? Mitzi Shore, mother of Pauly Shore, MTV DJ.
Comedian, also stand-up comedian himself.
I guess. I mean, like, not a very good stand-up comedian, but at least he did Encino Man, which is not too bad. I get though more of a Brandon Fraser movie, but still.
So funny story that I heard recently about stand-up comedy. So Jamie Foxx, do you know how he got his name?
Red Fox.
Jamie Foxx is not his real name, right? The actor. Right?
Okay.
So he was trying to break into the comedy circuit. And every time he would go for these open mics, there would be like 25 people in front of him. But there would be 3 girls on that list. And always the 3 girls would go up first. So he changed his name and wrote Jamie Foxx, hoping that they would think he was a girl. So they said, hey, can Jamie Foxx please come up here? And is she around? And he goes, all right, and goes up. And that's how he started using that as a stage name to get onto stage, right?
Have you guys seen any of Jamie Foxx's stand-up, by the way? Just
I have. I've seen him doing a lot of mimicry.
Yeah, hilarious. He used to do, exactly. He used to do a lot of music and comedy together.
No, and he was a cast member of In Living Color, wasn't he?
He was, He was a cast member of In Living Color.
I remember him from back then.
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah. Wow, very cool.
So talented.
He has this. Just a quick side note. There is like this. He hosted the ESPYs, which is the ESPN Awards, the sports awards, one year, and just hilarious. Check that out. Just I won't spoil it. Just check that out. Yeah, that's about it. So that's it. That's the end of the first half of the show. I recommended Comedy Store, which is on Showtime. You can. The thing is, I watched it through dubious means because it's available only on Showtime, and Showtime is not available in India. And so just check it out as you can, guys. And Ashdin recommended. Find it where you can. Ashdin recommended. Please, Ashdin, can you repeat your recommendation, please?
Bad Boy Billionaires.
Yep, it's on Netflix.
Yes.
And Amit.
I recommended the podcast Literally by Rob Lowe.
Yeah, you can find it anywhere you get podcasts. Thank you guys. See you guys on the second half.
Super.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another awesome week on the IVM Podcast Network. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And speaking of Instagram, Niharika Pandey joined Cyrus this week on Cyrus Says. Niharika is the strategic partner manager for Instagram India. Great conversation about the plans for Instagram in India. Karanjit Kaur joined the guys at Uncle Please Sit. Another really interesting conversation about the patriarchy. On Advertising is Dead, old friend Suchita Salwan showed up. Suchita is the founder of LBB. Great conversation she had with Varun. Definitely do check that out as well. Tanvi Lad, who is a nationally ranked badminton player, was on the Habit Code with Ashdin Doctor. Great conversation. I would highly recommend that. The Football Football guys are back. They've been back for a few weeks, but definitely do check out their latest episode. Great conversation they had. On Aditi Surana's Absolutely Right, Manju Sara Rajan was the guest, and again, a great conversation was to be had over there. As always, great conversations all across the board. Check out some of the other stuff like Smile India and Know Your Kanun and All Things Policy. All of them had fresh episodes this week, but with that, let's get you back to your show.
All right, welcome back, guys. Now, this is the main half that we're all here to listen to. Talking about inspirational movies today. Inspirational movies can be anything. Again, everything's in play. It can be Hindi movies, English movies. It can also be podcasts, actually. It doesn't have to be inspirational movies. It can be inspirational content. But as far as possible, let's try and stick to movies because that's a slightly narrower field of view. So, yes.
Sure. Can I go first?
Okay, sure. How are we doing this? You want to talk about two movies? Two of your favorite?
So, okay, so this is what I did, right? So I was thinking about inspirational movies. I was coming up with standard cliches. I came up with Shawshank Redemption, which was like Shawshank.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, you know what? Let's think a little bit beyond that, right? And then I started thinking about like some other stuff, and I was like, you know, what are the inspirational feel-good movies I thought of? And you know what I decided? I thought I'm going to recommend a genre instead of recommending a movie because I got like 10 of them listed over here.
Nice.
They're all sports movies. Sports movies typically have the formula for that inspirational kind of like, you know, bring you, make you feel good, make you feel like, you know, somebody's overcoming a challenge. And it doesn't matter whether what language they're in, right? I mean, like where they're made, right? So Lagan or Dangal, same thing, right? I mean, Chakte, you feel that, or you look at movies, Hollywood movies like The Blind Side, Major League, Invictus, Victory. I'm just reading a list now, right? And I came up with this list in literally 15 minutes in the morning today, right? Invictus, Victory, Escape to Victory, the Sylvester Stallone movie where they escape from the Nazis, Moneyball, Rocky. $1 Million Arm. Invincible, White Men Can't Jump, Rudy, The Karate Kid,
great movie,
Tin Cup, A League of Their Own. You know, I mean, like these are just movies that I was just thinking about, like just randomly, and all of them just showed up, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the genre, right? Like, how does somebody who has, and again, there are a couple of stuff. There are two types of protagonists in this, right? So, protagonist type number one is the athlete. Protagonist type number two is the trainer / coach, right?
Yeah, correct.
The athlete is somebody who is overcoming the challenge of coming from some sort of a background which is not generally expected to be successful in sports. The protagonist, if the coach or trainer is the protagonist, then that is somebody who is trying to reclaim his glory days, typically, right? And so he is trying to kind of like, you know, impart his knowledge and his wisdom of the past. What I just found is that, you know, if you're feeling down, if you're feeling annoyed, if you're feeling like pissed off at the world, right, a good sports movie will do a lot to put you in a good mood.
Yeah, have you seen a movie called We Are Marshall, starring Matthew McConaughey?
Sorry, We Are
Marshall, starring Matthew McConaughey. He plays the trainer, which basically the movie shows American football, but it follows the story of Manchester United, of how their how their players had like crashed, famously had like died in a plane crash. Half their team had gone. So yeah, basically this movie is pretty great. We Are Marshall.
Interesting.
Yeah, so exactly. So what I'm saying is the sport also, what is interesting about these movies is the sport usually does not matter. It's just the inspirational, feel-good vibes of
Cool Runnings, movie about Jamaican bobsledding team.
Yeah.
I mean, you're absolutely right. The sport doesn't matter. It is more about, even if you look at it like a stupid-ass movie like Dodgeball follows the conventions of a sports movie. Right, so I mean, it doesn't matter what that is.
Dodgeball. I was just thinking that. Oh God, so great, dude. I love it. I've seen a movie called. I've seen Basketball.
Basketball, exactly. That's what I was just thinking of. Our South Park folks, right?
Yeah. Exactly. That's so fun.
It doesn't matter, right? The sports movie. It does. So even if you lose, right? If you think about it, Rocky lost.
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
At the end of Tin Cup, Kevin Costner lost. You know, it doesn't matter if you win or you. At the end of Moneyball, Brad Team Spit lost.
Yeah.
Right? So win or lose doesn't matter. The way the movie is constructed, at the end of it, you feel good.
Correct. Very true. That's great. So a whole genre of sports movies.
Yes.
You know what though? I can think of one sports movie which wouldn't come under
cheated like a
they were all like sports recommendations.
No, but then we can dive more into them, right? But I know I cheated, but I cheated because I just felt like, you know, I don't want to recommend Shawshank Redemption, right? I didn't want to recommend that. I was just like, oh man, I mean, like, you know, or The Green Mile or something like that. You know, I just felt like, you know, should look at something a little. This felt like a better recommendation.
I was just listening to a Formula One racer yesterday, and he was talking about what he misses about Formula One, and he's saying that there is nothing in life that gives you such an immediate high. Correct? Like sport gives you such an immediate high. Business will never give you that immediate high. It's a gradual build-up. So this is
it's a gradual build-up, and it's not as black and white. In sports, you win or you lose.
Win or lose.
Right? So, I mean, like, it's a very black and white thing. So, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's actually quite similar to stand-up. And just going back to stand-up, because stand-up, the high is just immediate. Because if you're getting a laugh, that's the high. If you're not, well, you suck. Anyway, that's great, man. The whole genre of sports movies, that's very cool. Ashdin, just a couple of your input on this.
So I had two interesting ones, but they're not movies. We suddenly realized them. They're more docus. But what was interesting is that there's a new one called A Coach's Rules for Life. Okay,
I've heard of that.
It is again a fantastic series on Netflix. So it is the best coaches in the world talking about their rules for living and how they worked with their athletes. So how do you coach Serena Williams, right? You can't tell her hold the racket a little like this.
Right.
Like, what are you playing with? You're only playing with her mind. So how do you get into her mind? How do you allow her to change? And, those aspects of coaching, which we never listen or actually, hear anywhere. Because, when you think about an athlete, they're so high strung because nobody is harder on themselves than the athlete.
Right.
And then there are athletes that have talent and who deliberately throw away a game because they don't want to feel that they've lost that talent to somebody who's far worse than them. So, how does a coach train somebody like that? And it's a fantastic approach to understanding life. When should you risk? When should you not? When should you lie? When should you not? Correct? Yeah. And like a few interesting rules. A 24-hour celebration or a 24-hour sulking rule. Whether you win or lose, you have 24 hours to either celebrate that or sulk the crap out of it. But then after those 24 hours, you get back onto your routine.
Right.
Makes sense. Yeah. Such inspirational stuff coming from just that one documentary. So I think that is a fantastic one for people to watch if they generally want inspiration or want to think about their lives a little bit. Another interesting one is this documentary on Dr. Dre and the Beats headphones.
Oh, I love that documentary.
It's so crazy. It's called The Defiant Ones.
I know. I think did I recommend that, Antariksh, on this a couple of weeks ago?
I don't remember.
No, okay.
No, we're here.
No, I didn't recommend it here. I remember talking about this somewhere. Though we were talking about like all the stuff that we watched in the pandemic. It might not have been here. Maybe it was on Cyrus or something like that.
Yeah.
But I remember talking about The Defiant Ones. God, I love that documentary,
man. What a brilliant show. And so many shows about rap or hip hop are all underdog stories, right? So you are gunning for him, you're hoping for him, and what turns out is, like we're talking about inspiration, right? The never give up kind of attitude, and the amount of self-worth that you have to create for yourself, especially in the hip hop world, right? I am right. You can't take this away from me. I deserve this. Having that as a mindset really pushes you. So you have sports, and then now you have music as well, which becomes a fantastic approach to inspiration.
Yeah, no, I think I'd agree with that, right? Because I was actually thinking about that a little bit too, because this pandemic for me has been a time of exploring a lot of different musical content, which I generally don't spend that much time doing, right? Mm-hmm. So I saw the Defiant Ones, which I thought was amazing. I saw there's another Netflix show called I can't remember what it's called exactly right now, but it's about the Biggie versus Tupac entire thing and the investigation into their murders. Mm-hmm. Then I saw jazz document. It's a 12-part documentary about the history of jazz music. I saw Hamilton, which I loved, which led me down into a whole different kind of musical kind of this. Yeah. But music is again watching stuff about music does make you feel good, right? I mean, since yesterday I've been watching I've probably been listening or watching to 100 different Van Halen videos, concerts, live performances, all that kind of stuff, right?
Wow.
Yeah, because Eddie Van Halen passed a few days ago, and so we've just been watching a bunch of that kind of stuff. Music is inspirational.
And I think it's interesting because, we've chosen two genres where talent shows, right? And then you immediately say talent plus that's something else. And it's not just pure talent that we're looking at, because talent, then you'd be like, anyone with talent can do this. But is that plus something else that we can't necessarily put our finger on, that all of us are actually, talking about, or what appeals to us?
Yeah, absolutely true. I buy that for sure.
I would like to quickly run down some Indian movies as well, if you guys don't mind.
Sure.
I mean, I'll get to my recommendation in just a couple of minutes. Before that, Swades is a very cool. Have you guys seen the movie Swades?
Yeah, of course.
Swades.
Swades.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. That's the one. 2004 movie starring Shah Rukh Khan. He comes to India. He's a NASA scientist who says to come to India and basically stay back for the betterment of his village. Very inspiring. Another one, Three Idiots, obviously, is quite the inspirational. It really makes you rethink the education system and talks about self-worth, talks about not chasing success but chasing excellence, or basically knowing being good at your own field, in your own field, which is again a great thing to aspire to. Tare Zameen Par is very inspirational. Again, talks about rethinking the education system and all that. So I noticed that a lot of these have Shah Rukh Khan in them. Amir Khan in them.
Amir Khan, yes.
Lagan again is as Amit already said. So yeah, I guess Amir Khan is doing a lot of these inspirational movies in India.
Dangal also has Amir Khan. He's got the he's got the inspirational piece down.
Yeah, correct. That's so true. That's
actually
that's his
1857, the Sepoy Mutiny movie, right? Where he played Mangal Pandey. Or the movie was called Mangal Pandey.
Mangal Pandey, The Rising, yeah.
So again, fairly inspirational film.
Yep. Border is a huge, I would say, an inspirational kind of movie. Especially if you are, if you want to get into the army, I guess. It's a great recruitment video as well.
And you run with a mine towards a tank. Perfect.
Sunil Shetty, that was? Correct. That's so funny. Oh man. Were you, just a quick, were you guys ever fans of Sunil Shetty and Akshay Kumar together? They were all in all these movies together.
So I like some of them, right? What was the movie that, there was a movie with Sunil Shetty, Akshay Kumar. No, not that one. So Mohra, but there was one movie, there was one specific movie I can't remember. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I, for some reason, remember liking it quite a bit. It had Sunil Shetty, Akshay Kumar, Raveena Tandon, and Sonali Bendre in it. And I can't remember the name of the movie right now.
Was it about this tiny golden gem?
I think it was something like that. No?
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Oh God, I can't remember the name.
I can't remember the name of the movie, but I do remember liking that. And then, of course, Hera Fairy. I mean, everybody
likes Hera Fairy. Of course, everyone likes Hera Fairy.
I always thought that Sunil Shetty never got credit for picking good stories. Even his shitty movies had good stories, right? They might not have been well-made movies, but he always, there was always a sense of, a lot of Bollywood movies, especially from the 90s, early 2000s, they got lost in their own styles, right? They didn't care about moving the narrative forward of the show that you were watching, the movie that you're watching. And Sunil Shetty movies always used to kind of okay, you know what, there's something happening here. And some of these movies were bad, not good at all, right? But the thing is that one thing that I could see from his movies was that that they were always moving the narrative forward.
Man, in all fairness, even if I see the movie Gopi Kishan on TV even today, I'll watch it. I love that movie.
That's the Ram and
the double role one.
Yeah, the
exactly.
one dumb one.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, exactly. I love that. And what's interesting is in this movie, normally what happens in double role movies, sorry, I know I'm just a total different tangent. What happens in double role movies is one guy will be the good guy, one guy will be the bad guy. In the sense, one guy will be the police officer, the other guy is a criminal. In this one, both of them are police officers, but one of them is a Havaldar and one of them is an inspector. And that's the big difference.
Well, that's an inspirational movie by itself.
That is an inspirational movie.
There you go.
Well done, Habit Coach. Very well done. Okay, so going down to my recommendation, I would like to recommend the Habit Coach podcast, which I'm a producer of.
Yay!
With Ashdin Doctor. It has more than 300 episodes now, which is crazy to even say. So please check that out firstly. And coming back to my the most inspirational thing that I've seen in recent times. About 2 years back, I watched this documentary. Again, this is stand-up related, so sorry guys. But there's a documentary called Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling.
Okay.
Have either of you heard of this?
I've heard of it, I've not seen it.
Okay, so Gary Shandling was, again, one of the most influential comedians who has ever lived. He passed away in, I think 2014 or 2015, one of them. He passed away just not that long back. Very influential comedian. He had two very successful TV shows, one in the 80s and one in the 90s. not many actors have had successful TV shows in different decades. He was one of them. He had in the 80s, he had the Gary Shandling show, which was like a breakdown or like a parody of classic sitcoms. In the sense, like, he would have, like, say he has, like, so there's like a set, obviously, right, on TV show. He would, when walking from one part of the set to the other part of the set, he would address that he is walking on from one part of the set to the other part of the set. So it's like kind of breaking the fourth wall also. So, like, again, very ahead of his times. And in the 90s, he had the Larry Sanders Show, which was like a parody of, not, I wouldn't say parody, but like a commentary on late night talk shows, like The Tonight Show. So he was basically like on the Larry Sanders Show, his character, Gary Shandling's character, was playing the role of Johnny Carson of The Tonight Show. That was his character, basically. And he would like have other guests on. And the show was about, the Larry Sanders Show was about just basically the jealousies that happen behind a late night talk show. I remember the tagline for the show that Gary Shandling always used to repeat was, it's a show about people who love each other, but then showbiz gets in the way.
Nice.
Which I just love that line. That's a great way to describe it.
Also, I think where Jeffrey Tambor first became somewhat
exactly
popular. Yeah.
Yep, very true. He was the talk show sidekick, like the Andy Richter role or what have you. So then that is Gary Shandling. So throughout his life, firstly, Gary Shandling has been the comedic mentor or the just like life mentor of many already existing comedians today. Like he was instrumental to Judd Apatow, to Sarah Silverman, to Sacha Baron Cohen, to all these amazing great talents who basically Gary Shandling nurtured or helped at some point in his career. What Gary Shandling did throughout his life is he maintained these diaries. These weren't just diaries of his jokes. Of course, he would like randomly write jokes, like half-written jokes, full-written jokes, just joke ideas. All that is obviously in these, but he basically so Gary Shandling was a practitioner of Buddhism his entire life. He was huge on Buddhist teachings, following the Eightfold Path and what have you. So he throughout his life maintained these diaries, in which he would like to write just like very Zen thoughts, very like the smart, makes you think kind of thoughts, makes you even like analyze yourself just by reading those things. I remember one of the things that he had written was that there is no reason to be scared or nervous on stage. So this is like him giving self-affirmation to himself as well, right? So he was like, there's no reason to be nervous or nervous on stage, because your one job on stage is to be Gary Shandling. And you've already accomplished that.
Nice.
So don't be nervous. There's no reason to be nervous. So basically he's just saying, just be yourself. That's all you have to do. People will gravitate towards you if you are yourself. Was his thing.
So that's the hardest thing to do for most people.
Exactly. But that was his struggle.
Yeah,
that was always his struggle.
Absolutely.
And he would like always have these like very existential questions about himself, like just like typical things that all comedians, I'm sure, ask themselves, like, hey, am I funny? Should I even be doing this? Yeah. Even after putting in so much work, even after doing it for like 20 years and killing on every appearance of The Tonight Show and killing on stage every time he goes on stage or every other time he goes on stage, he would still be questioning these things about whether he should actually be doing this. This is actually meant for him. So Judd Apatow was a mentee of Gary Shandling, very close to him in real life. And after his passing, Judd Apatow got the possession of all these diaries, of all these Zen diaries of Gary Shandling. And he then made a 2-part documentary, which is again a must watch. It's an HBO documentary, so already you know how great the quality of the documentary will be. And he made a documentary about following Gary's life, and then through these books, through these diaries, just all he had like, I don't know, it's like, dude, at least like 20-30 the diaries, which are just filled with like scribbles, with like small notes everywhere. And Judd Apatow basically breaks them down. He takes us through Gary Shandling's life, how influential he had been, and he has all these people talk about, like Jim Carrey, who was a very good friend of Gary Shandling's, talks is there in the documentary. Seinfeld is there. Some top comedians, Sarah Silverman, Kevin Nealon, Bob Saget. Amazing story. Please check this out. Diaries of Gary Shandling. It'll just really make you feel awesome, make you feel good. You'll be thinking about it for like a week, and it's something that might actually change your life and make you more self-analytical yourself as well. So yeah, very inspirational. Please check it out.
Are they available on Hotstar or something?
HBO, wherever HBO stuff is available.
So HBO stuff is generally on Hotstar. Right?
Yeah, it should be available on Hotstar. Okay. I'm pretty sure.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So that's it, guys. That was a very cool, very nice episode.
Thank you.
Just run down the things we talked about in the second half, if you don't mind. I talked about the Zen Zydus Gary Shandling, which you should all check out. Ashton.
A Coach's Rules for Life and The Defiant Ones.
Yep. And where can people find these?
Netflix. Both of them on Netflix.
Okay, both of them on Netflix.
And I cheated badly and picked the genre of sports movies. And what I'll do is... what I can do is I can send you the list of movies that I had written down, and then if you want, you can kind of put them into the results.
Before we end, there was another movie which I really wanted to talk about, but then I ended up talking about Zen Zydus Gary Shandling. A movie which I love is Good Will Hunting, which I adore.
Nice, yeah.
I adore this movie so much. Robin Williams won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor for this, written by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. It's a movie that again talks about basically the human spirit and how this guy who doesn't want to be perceived as a genius, even though he is a genius, and his journey of just realizing that he has a gift and just that kind of stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's a really good watch. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For an awesome episode. See you guys soon.
See you. Thank you so much for letting me be on the IVM Likes podcast. Love it.
Yeah.
No, it was fun to have
man.
you. We should definitely do this again.
Yeah. Ashton, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Instagram at Ashdin Doc, and of course the Habit Coach podcast. So guys, please go listen to it, and you can start from the first episode or you can start from the recent ones and work your way backwards. You can listen anywhere.
Start from the first episode. Let them build the addiction, man. Let them build the habit of the Habit Coach.
Absolutely.
Man, so Amit pointed this out. If you were to listen to one episode of Habit Coach a day, you could go an entire year now almost. Listen to one episode a day.
I was actually calculating that. How many total
cool
downloads would you have had, and how many minutes of that would have accumulated to how many lifetimes? It was just fascinating. Doing the numbers.
Yeah,
that is an interesting thing. You know what? I'll try and see if I can figure that out.
Super.
Cool. And Amit, where can we find you online?
I'm Doshi Amit on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. I'm mostly on Twitter. I'm not. I mostly do Twitter stuff. I don't do other things, but yeah, I'm all over the place.
Okay. Cool. And you can follow me at Antariksh T on Instagram and Antariksh Tack on Twitter. And thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
See you guys next week.
See you. Bye-bye.
How many times have you motivated yourself to improve your sleep or lose weight or be more productive? How many times have you failed? Hi, my name is Ashdin Doctor. Tune into my show, The Habit Coach Podcast, where we focus on creating small, tiny habits to improve your life instead of those big, impossible tasks. So make listening to me a habit every Monday, Wednesday and Friday on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com or on your favorite podcasting app.
Hi, I'm DJ, one of the presenters of the Edges and Sledges cricket podcast. I'm based in London and host the podcast along with my friend from school, Varun, who's based in Singapore, and his brother Ashwin, who's based in the US. We've all been massive fans of Indian cricket all our lives, and despite living in 3 different time zones and having pretty busy professional lives, we decided to start our own cricket podcast in March 2018. After putting out 59 episodes on our own, we were delighted to join IVM in May 2019. Becoming the first pre-existing podcast to be picked up by India's largest podcast network. We've chatted with some awesome people, had some fantastic cricketing conversations along the way. But the main reason we do this every week is to have fun discussing the same cricket topics and issues that you guys are talking about every day in your living rooms. We're fans, not experts, so expect us to be honest. We really hope you decide to join us every week on the podcast.